The story opens on New Year's Eve 1961 at the Old Theater in Derry. A young boy named Matty Clements sneaks into a showing of The Music Man. He's caught by the usher, but the projectionist, Hank Grogan, intervenes with kindness. His daughter, Ronnie Grogan, lies for Matty and lets him slip away unseen. From the start, we sense Matty isn't just acting out, he's trying to vanish from Derry. Matty sticks out his thumb hitchhiking, desperate to get anywhere but Derry. He is picked up by a seemingly normal family: father, pregnant mother, daughter, and son. At first, it feels like deliverance, but the mood shifts hard. The daughter dips her fingers in a container of liver-like contents, sniffing them, and presses them under Matty's nose. The mother prompts the son to speak in weird, odd vocabulary, spelling out disturbing words. Driving away, Matty relaxes until he realizes they are circling back into Derry, not away from it. Matty panics and tries to grab the wheel. In the struggle, his hand strikes the pregnant woman's belly. She goes into a savage, unnatural labor. A winged, demonic baby with black eyes bursts into the world. It attacks Matty in the car. As it lunges, the pacifier flying from Matty's mouth is flying out the car window. Matty's fate? Unknown. We know he doesn't walk out clean. We fast forward 4 months. Matty is missing, presumed dead. The town tries to carry on. We meet new characters. Lily Bainbridge, a social outcast. Her father is dead. Bullies torment her. Teddy Uris, thoughtful boy, uncle to future Stanley Uris. He sees more than he lets on. Phil Malkin, conspiracy theorist kid obsessed with the local Air Force base. Ronnie Grogan, still haunted by the night Matty disappeared, the last person to see him alive. We get a flashback. On that New Year's Eve, Matty took Lily to the town's standpipe. She opened up about her father's death. He tried to kiss her. She pulled back. He ran off into the night, and that's the last time she saw him. The horror picks up again via whispers and visions. For Lily, while drawing a bath, she hears Matty's voice singing "You Got Trouble" from the drain. She begs him to come home. A voice whispers back, "He won't let me." 2 bloody fingers poke through the drain. For Teddy, that very night, in his bedroom, the lampshade transforms into stitched-together faces of Holocaust victims, an atmosphere born of his father's stories about concentration camps. The children realize Matty is trying to reach them, but the force behind this is far more malevolent. Lily, Teddy, and Phil begin investigating. They dig up a newspaper article. Ronnie Grogan is the last known person to see Matty alive. They approach her. She's hostile at first. Later, after she admits she's heard voices from the pipes, children screaming, singing "You Got Trouble," she changes her mind and agrees to help. Parallel to the kid's story, we follow Major Leroy Hanlon, father to future Mike Hanlon from the original universe. He arrives at the Derry Air Force Base with his comrade, Captain Paulie Russo. Leroy is among the few black servicemen in the base. He faces racist insubordination from another airman. Later that night, in his quarters, 3 gas-masked men burst in demanding classified specs for a B-52 bomber. Paulie rushes in. The attack is fought off, but the threat and the idea of a hidden experiment in Derry lurk. The group of kids, including Ronnie, Phil's little sister Susie Malkin, gather at the closed Capitol Theater. Ronnie screens The Music Man. During the "You Got Trouble" number, Matty appears on screen. He cradles a bundled blanket. He addresses the group. "You're the reason I'm in here, 'cause you lied, 'cause you weren't there." His face distorts into a monstrous version of himself, a Pennywise-like smile. He throws the blanket through the screen. The demonic bat baby from the cold open emerges into the theater. It flies chaotic, brutal. Teddy, Phil, Susie are slaughtered. Lily stumbles into the lobby, blood-covered, holding Susie's severed hand. Ronnie watches in horror.
Lily Bainbridge wakes from another nightmare, but this time she knows it wasn't just a dream. The attack at the Capitol Theater really happened. The blood, the screams, the faces she can't forget, they're all real. Outside her window, police cars sit parked in the darkness, their lights casting cold flashes through her curtains. The Derry police have decided Hank Grogan is the man to blame, even though there's no proof. In this town, suspicion is enough. Across Derry, a new family arrives. Major Leroy Hanlon returns home, reuniting with his wife Charlotte and their son Will. They've come to start fresh, but Derry doesn't welcome newcomers. Will's first day at school turns sour fast. The other kids target him, mock him, shove him, until a quiet boy named Rich steps in. Their friendship sparks a faint sense of warmth in an otherwise cold town. Then the horror returns. Late that night, Ronnie Grogan lies in bed trying to sleep when her world starts to twist. The sheets around her shift, the room grows darker, and the mattress seems to breathe. Her bed turns into something alive, a grotesque, pulsating version of her dead mother. The voice that follows is filled with venom. Her mother blames her for dying in childbirth, and before Ronnie can scream, an umbilical cord wraps around her body and drags her toward a stomach lined with teeth. Inside, a pair of glowing yellow eyes open wide. Pennywise is there. Then her father bursts in and everything vanishes. She's left shaking, not knowing what was real. Meanwhile, Lily finds herself trapped in a different kind of nightmare. Police Chief Clint Bowers calls her in for questioning. He's under pressure to give the town someone to hate. He threatens her, saying if she doesn't cooperate, he'll send her back to Juniper Hill. Terrified, Lily says the one thing that seals Hank's fate: she can't be absolutely certain he wasn't at the theater. That single line is all Bowers needs. Hank Grogan is arrested, and Lily's friendship with Ronnie shatters. Derry always finds a way to turn the victims against each other. Days later, Lily tries to move on, doing something normal, shopping for groceries, but even there the past finds her. The aisles start to twist and bend, the colors drain, and the faces on the cereal boxes become the children who died. Jars of pickles contain severed heads, torn limbs, and the mutilated face of her father, reassembling itself into something monstrous. The shoppers see only a girl screaming at nothing, thrashing through the aisle. When it's over, Lily is dragged away to Juniper Hill. Derry has claimed another mind. But while the town sleeps, something bigger is happening beneath it. On a nearby military base, Major Hanlon confronts General Shaw. He's discovered that the attack against him wasn't an accident, it was a test. Shaw calls it Operation Precept. The mission? To locate and weaponize a being buried beneath Derry, something ancient that feeds on fear. The general believes it can be used. Hanlon is recruited because he's a man without fear. And guiding them through this mission is a familiar name: Dick Halloran, the psychic from The Shining. Using his shine, he leads them towards strange energy sources surrounding the town, like beacons marking something vast and buried. Floodlights cut through the mist as Halloran's team unearths an old car riddled with bullet holes buried deep in the dirt. Inside are the skeletal remains of several people. It's the infamous Bradley gang, victims of another of Derry's dark stories that always traced back to Pennywise. General Shaw looks over the bodies.
We jump back inside a fun fair in 1908, a place that feels innocent for a moment, then quietly poisoned by something lurking just out of sight. A young boy, Francis Shaw, moves through the noise and color with the kind of curiosity that leaves a child wide open. He wanders into a freak show tent where a tall, twisted figure steps out of the shadows and terrifies him. Francis runs to his father, hoping for comfort, but gets a slingshot instead. His father calls it a way to toughen him up. That moment lands like a seed that will grow into something heavy later in the episode. When their car breaks down on a lonely road, Francis meets a native girl named Rose while fetching water. The exchange between them feels simple at first, then becomes a real connection. He trades the slingshot for the water, and the two drift into an easy friendship, running around the forest like they've known each other longer than a few minutes. That warmth cracks as Francis pushes deeper into a restricted part of the woods. The trees close in around him, and the same humanoid figure from the freak show begins stalking him from between the trunks. Its footsteps echo like something ancient pressing in from all sides. Just as it lunges, Rose steps into the moment with the slingshot and fires a shot that lands with real force. The creature recoils. The story cuts forward to the present, where Francis Shaw has grown into General Shaw, a man shaped by that encounter. He pursues the entity with the desperation of someone who carries old terror under his skin. He brings in Dick Halloran and hands him the same slingshot from that childhood encounter. Dick has psychic gifts, and Shaw wants him to use the object as a link to whatever it truly is. Once Dick touches the slingshot inside the helicopter, everything around him falls away. His mind drops straight into Pennywise's lair, a subterranean place where time feels stuck
and hunger sits in the air like fog. He sees a clown wagon with the paint peeling like dead skin, human shapes floating above him as if caught in a dream. Two yellow eyes rise out of the dark and lock onto him. A voice asks him who he is, and the fear hits him so hard he tries to jump from the helicopter. Leroy Hamlin drags him back before he falls. Later, Dick and Leroy stand in a quiet tension. Dick tells Leroy he recognized him as one of the masked men from Shaw's experiment, the one who stayed calm when everyone else broke. There is a cold intelligence in Leroy that Dick wants no part of. The two settle into a sharp, cautious respect that adds an unpredictable edge to their partnership. While all of this unfolds, the kids take their own path into the truth. Lily comes back from Juniper Hills carrying fear, determination, and the need to clear her family's name. She meets up with Ronnie, and together they decide to gather proof that the thing haunting Derry is real. They bring in Will, Leroy's son, along with Rich, who claims to know how to work with the occult. Their plan leads them to a graveyard at night, where they set up a seance that feels shaky from the start. The ritual goes wrong fast. The air tightens, and the ghosts of the kids they lost begin rising around them. The shapes move with a jerking, broken rhythm, closing in on the group. Panic hits all four of them at once. Will gets separated and finds shelter inside a crypt where the shadows move like they have a pulse. He raises the camera, takes a photo, and runs back to the others. When they develop the film, the image they see is a blurry silhouette hiding in a dark corner of the crypt. Will stares at it for a long moment before he answers the question hanging in the room. He names it without hesitation. He says it is a clown.
Lily, Will, Ronnie, and Rich walk into Chief Bauer's office with their ghost photos. They want the police to take the threat seriously. The police look at the pictures and say the ghost children are gone and the clown is only a statue. The police refuse to help, so the kids realize they must protect themselves. No adult will step in. The danger grows around the Hamlin family. Leroy takes Will to the river for a simple fishing trip, hoping for a calm moment. Will stands by the water and a burned version of his father rises from the river and drags him under. Leroy pulls him out and both of them see a red balloon in the trees. The balloon shows that the threat is close and real. At the same time, Charlotte pushes the police for answers. She uses her past as a civil rights activist to demand the truth. She gets a visit with Hank Grogan. Hank explains he has an alibi, but he cannot use it because he was with a married white woman. If he admits this, he could be killed. His fear shows how dangerous Derry already is before the creature even arrives. Will tries to understand what is hunting them. He believes the creature feeds on fear and becomes stronger when they're scared. Lily panics and steals her mother's anti-anxiety pills. She hands them to her friends, hoping the drugs will reduce their fear and make them harder for the creature to attack. The kids take the pills because they want any kind of protection. The most shocking moment comes from Margie, Lily's former friend. The patty cakes pressure Margie to prank Lily, but Margie tries to stop the plan. Before she can speak, the creature targets her. Her eyes bulge and bleed like the parasite snails from science class. She runs into the school woodshop. She grabs a bandsaw and injures her eyes in a violent and terrifying way. Lily tries to stop her, but when other students arrive, they see Lily covered in blood. They think Lily attacked Margie. The moment destroys Lily's image inside the school and leaves her shaken. The story then shifts into a long flashback. Dick Halloran uses his psychic power to reach Tanyel's ancestral memory for General Shaw. The memory shows a young Tanyel listening to his Aunt Rose telling the story of the Galoo. She says that millions of years ago, a dark spirit fell to Earth inside a meteor. The indigenous people learned that pieces of the meteor could hurt the spirit. When settlers came and ignored the warnings, the spirit fed on them and grew stronger. A group of indigenous children entered the spirit's hiding place, broke more pieces off the meteor, and buried them around the woods to create a border that kept the spirit contained. The memory ends with Tanyel telling Halloran to follow the tunnels under the old well. Then we are shown the Neibold house standing in silence, waiting for what comes next.
Marge steps back into the hideout with one eye missing, the wound still raw and unsettling. Yet her first move is to reconcile with Lily. She confirms every detail Lily tried to warn them about, every impossible thing she saw. Before anyone can process that truth, Matty Clements limps out of the shadows. His return shakes the room because everyone believed he died below the streets. He claims he escaped the sewers. He claims Phil might still be breathing, and that single possibility pushes Lily to form a plan that no one wants but everyone agrees to. Since fear fuels Pennywise, she hands out her mother's Valium, and the kids step into the tunnels with dulled nerves and shaky courage. Meanwhile, Operation Percept roars to life. General Shaw lays the entire mission bare to Major Hanlon. 13 pillars carved from the meteor that delivered it to Earth. 13 anchors that form a cage. And their plan is simple but reckless. Locate the pillars and tighten that cage until the creature can be used as a weapon. Daniel is forced to guide the soldiers into the sewers through the Kneeboat House well. His Aunt Rose gave him a crystal shard for protection, yet even that barely matters once they reach the dark. Pennywise rises in the shape of Uncle Sam, and soldiers fall in seconds, swallowed by a nightmare they cannot fight. Deep in the sewers, the kids stumble behind Maddie, their bodies heavy from the Valium. The truth hits them without warning. They find Phil's body, then the others, cold and gone. There were no survivors. Maddie's shape melts and stretches until the real figure emerges, Pennywise, the dancing clown, grinning as if he has been waiting for this moment. The children run, slamming through tunnels, voices shaking. Lily loses the group and ends up face to face with Pennywise. Her panic spikes until her hand brushes the crystal shard Daniel dropped earlier. The creature recoils, and that tiny moment of protection lets her break free. In another corridor, the military mission collapses into tragedy. Major Hanlon meets a vision of his wife, Charlotte, twisted by it. His attempt to defend himself shatters his confidence because the moment he fires, he realizes he cannot trust what he sees. When Will and the kids burst into view, Hanlon's instincts betray him. He raises his weapon, convinced it is another illusion. Captain Paulie Russo throws himself between Will and the bullet and dies instantly. At the same time, Dick Halloran undergoes a psychic attack that drags him back into a childhood memory. His grandfather, twisted by Pennywise, forces him to open a mental lockbox holding his worst memories and the spirits he trapped there. The snap snaps open, something old spills out. When Dick finally escapes the tunnels, he can see Paulie's ghost standing near him, a clear sign that a boundary between life and death has cracked open. Above ground, chaos spreads in quieter ways. Hank Grogan's prison transport to Shawshank is attacked, giving him a clean escape route. His secret lover waits for him, revealed to be Ingrid, also known as Mrs. Kirsch. Their panic grows fast. They decide they need help, and the only person they trust enough is Charlotte Hanlon.
A black and white flashback pulls us inside the Juniper Hill Asylum in 1935, where the walls feel too quiet and the shadows feel too alive. A young nurse, a de-aged Ingrid Kirsch, wakes a trembling patient named Mabel. Mabel whispers about a clown who told her to meet him, and Ingrid guides her down to the boiler room. One single red balloon hangs in the monochrome air, a warning dressed as a welcome. Pennywise steps into the frame, and while Ingrid stands still and watches like someone witnessing a divine moment, Mabel is left behind to die. The screen fades, and the horror travels forward in time. We jump back to 1962. The fallout from the tunnels beneath the Kneeboat House hits every character in a different way. Major Leroy Hanlon is drowning in grief and rage. Paulie is gone, and the pain twists into something ugly. He corners his son Will, forbids him from leaving the base, and blames him for what happened. Will fires back with a shaky voice, promising he would never abandon his friends. Leroy slaps him, and the look on Will's face says everything. He whispers that IT has gotten to his father too, then bolts away on his bike. Charlotte, steady and courageous, confronts her husband. She reveals that she has hidden Hank Grogan at the Black Spot, the social club for black airmen, and she plans to get him out of Derry before the town tears him apart. Dick Halloran battles his own storm. His mind is rattled after the psychic lockbox inside him opened. He tries to drown the noise with alcohol, but the fear stays with him, especially with Hank now hidden at the Black Spot.
The fallout continues with the kids, now splintered by the sewer nightmare. Lily Bainbridge becomes consumed by the meteor shard in her hand. She believes this strange, sharp piece of cosmic metal can kill Pennywise, and she wants to go back into the tunnels. Ronnie Grogan is furious. She wants to save her father from the manhunt, not chase monsters. Their argument explodes. The two scream at each other, frustrations and fear mixing until they walk away in opposite directions. Margie and Rich move in a softer direction. Their bond deepens. Rich helps her change the bandage on her wounded eye, calling her injury the coolest thing he has seen. At school, Margie uses her missing eye like armor and finally pushes back against the cruel Patty Cake's crew. She stands tall, and for once, they step back. The story tilts again when Lily, broken and lost, goes to Ingrid Kirsch's house searching for comfort. The house is empty and silent. She climbs into the attic and finds a photo album. Inside it sits the truth she never expected. A young Ingrid stands beside her father, Bob Gray, a circus performer who looks exactly like Pennywise because he is played by the same actor. Ingrid enters the room and tells Lily that Bob Gray was the original Pennywise the Dancing Clown. Ingrid shares her delusion with shaky devotion. She believes the creature is her father twisted into something monstrous. For years, she has tried to free him by offering children to the entity, including patients from Juniper Hill like Mabel. She wanted her father to remember her and break through the monster. She admits she wore the clown outfit at the cemetery, the one they photographed, the one that haunted the kids. Lily can barely breathe as the truth crashes over her. In a burst of fear and betrayal, she slashes Ingrid with the meteor shard and runs from the house. The storm gathers at the black spot, and fate brings every storyline to the same doorstep. Charlotte reunites Ronnie with her father Hank in secret. It is emotional, fragile, and brief. Will, Rich, and Margie arrive, hoping to pull Ronnie back into the group. Rich jumps onto the drums and fills the room with a lively beat that softens the tension in the air. For a moment, the black spot feels like a safe haven. Meanwhile, a racist mob in town roars to life. They are furious about Hank's escape and hungry for a target.
We finally see the man who would become the face of Derry's greatest nightmare. Bob Gray, a human carnival performer, steps onto a small stage with a painted smile that never reaches his eyes. He moves through a silent act built around grief and longing, and the children watch him with a stunned kind of fascination. His little daughter Ingrid helps him bring that sadness to life, and the crowd rushes toward him like he carries the cure to their boredom. Later that night, a strange boy stands alone in the darkness near a barn. His stare feels hollow, like nothing lives behind it. Bob approaches him after the boy claims he cannot find his mother. The woods swallow them both, and only a blood-stained handkerchief remains. That boy was the creature that becomes Pennywise. The story jumps forward to 1962 at the Black Spot. Hank Grogan hides inside the club while a masked mob led by Police Chief Bowers surrounds the place. The tension wraps tight around every voice in the room. The mob pulls back, chains the doors, and unleashes fire with Molotovs while gunshots tear through the windows. Flames climb the walls and panic hits everyone trapped inside. Pennywise waits for the moment the fear peaks. He steps into the fire as if the flames greet him. Victims reach for help, and he answers with teeth, claws, and hunger. He feeds in the chaos like he has been waiting for this night. Inside the inferno, Rich and Marge get trapped. Rich forces Marge into a refrigerator and shields her with his own body. Their final confession breaks through the noise as the fire crushes everything around them. Marge survives the collapse, but Rich dies protecting her. Dick Halloran, torn between terror and visions, receives guidance from the spirit of an indigenous woman wearing a bear headdress. She gives him direction and strength long enough to pull surviving children to safety. Outside the ruins, Ingrid Kirsch, now in full periwinkle clown makeup, confronts her husband, Stanley. She spills everything.
She exposed Hank's hiding place to the mob because she wanted chaos, because she wanted enough terror in the air to draw Pennywise out. When Pennywise appears, Stanley dies in a heartbeat. Ingrid embraces the creature, believing she has finally found her father. Pennywise tells her he needs to sleep, and her confidence collapses. In that moment, he reveals the truth. He consumed Bob Gray, and her hope dissolves. Pennywise opens his deadlights, pulling Ingrid into a hollow, frozen state that leaves her alive but empty. The next day, Derry buries the truth. Officials announce it was an electrical fire in a speakeasy, covering up the racist attack that claimed 17 black airmen. Halloran, guided by the same spirit as before, leads the military to one of the ancient pillars trapping it beneath the town. General Shaw orders his team to extract it. Once they return to base, he drops the real plan. He wants the pillar destroyed. Major Leroy Hanlon tries to stop him at gunpoint, but Shaw stands firm. He wants Pennywise unleashed. He believes America needs a threat bigger than hatred dividing the country. He wants fear to become a tool. Deep underground, Pennywise wakes early from his long sleep. The broken pillar weakens his prison. His eyes snap open. Then the horror hits home. Will Hanlon is alone when he picks up the phone. Ronnie's voice twists into something wrong. Pennywise stands behind him with war paint across his face. There is a flash of deadlights. Will falls into the same frozen terror Ingrid suffered.
With Derry choking under a sickly fog, thick, green, and wrong, plants shrivel on contact, trees rot from the inside, and the town feels like it is holding its breath. And Pennywise wastes no time. At Derry High School, the nightmare goes public. The clown hijacks the building, puppeteering the principal's corpse like a grotesque marionette. He parades him in front of the students, then casually beheads him, turning authority into spectacle. Panic never gets a chance to settle. Pennywise floods the gym with the deadlights, freezing every student in place. One by one, they rise into the air, hypnotized, obedient, and silent. Across town, Marge, Lily, and Ronnie realize something is very wrong. Missing posters blanket the streets. Faces overlap, names repeat. Will's poster stops them cold. When they find the principal's body, confirmation hits hard. This is not fear feeding anymore. This is harvest. They steal an abandoned milk truck and follow a widening blood trail into the woods, while Leroy Hanlon discovers the truth every parent dreads. Pennywise has taken his son. Everything converges at Rose's farm. Rose explains the only remaining option, the ancient dagger, a shard of the meteor that brought it to Earth, can replace the destroyed pillar and restore the cage. The cost is steep. The dagger corrupts the mind the farther it travels from its origin, bending thoughts toward obsession and madness. Dick Halloran, already haunted by spirits clawing at his shine, drinks tea brewed from maturin root to steady himself. Focus returns. The ghosts quiet down. Using his shine, he helps the girls locate the dagger and the place Pennywise is waiting. The trail leads to the Penobscot River, frozen solid in defiance of the season. Pennywise's old circus wagon sits at the center, like bait. When he attacks, chaos erupts. Ronnie grabs the dagger and fights him off long enough to buy time, but Pennywise retaliates by dragging Marge away into the ice fog. Alone with her, Pennywise drops the act. He calls her Margaret Tozier. He shows her a missing poster that has not happened yet, her future son, Richie Tozier. He speaks of time like a flat circle. Tomorrow and yesterday blurred together for him. Richie and his friends will kill him someday, and Pennywise intends to erase the problem at its source. Killing Marge means preventing that future. He moves in. Then he freezes.
Dick Halloran is holding him in place, trapping his mind inside a psychic vision. Pennywise is no god there. He is Bob Gray again, a sad, broken man performing for children, powerless and small. It is the only thing that truly cages him. But the clock is still ticking. Leroy and Taniel rush to plant the dagger into the sacred deadwood tree, the anchor point for the new pillar. Before they can finish, General Shaw's soldiers open fire. Taniel is killed instantly. Leroy is badly wounded. With his strength fading, Leroy passes the dagger to Will and the other kids, forcing the next generation to carry the burden. Shaw steps forward, convinced he has won. He taunts the frozen Pennywise, claiming the monster is finally free. The clown breaks Dick's psychic hold, looks at Shaw, and recognizes him. The boy from the forest in 1908. The fear that never left. Pennywise devours Shaw's head without ceremony, ending a century-long loop of denial. Enraged, Pennywise transforms into a massive winged beast and descends on the children as they struggle to plant the dagger. Hope thins to a thread. Then, Rich Santos appears, not alive, not gone. His ghost helps his friends steady their hands. Together, they drive the dagger into the earth. The deadwood ignites, the pillar reforms. Fire and blinding light tear through the riverbank. Pennywise screams as the cage snaps shut, forcing him back into hibernation. Not dead, contained, waiting. Derry resets, the way it always does. People forget details. The fog lifts. Normal life pretends it never cracked. The Hanlon family chooses to stay, committing to watch over the town, echoing the role Mike Hanlon will one day inherit. Dick Halloran leaves Derry behind, heading to London for a chef job at a quiet hotel, a path that leads directly into The Shining. Then the credits end. In 1988, at Juniper Hill Asylum, an elderly Ingrid Kirsch meets a grieving teenage Beverly Marsh. Beverly has just found her mother dead. Mrs. Kirsch smiles softly and delivers the truth Derry never escapes. No one who dies in Derry ever really dies.